Another week, Rick, and then time for another
down.
show.
Another week down, Jace.
Another week down, and of course, lots of stuff has dropped during the week, and we're going to get straight into it. And Rick, being children of the 80s, as we are, I'm more of a child of the 70s. Most of my teenage years in the 80s, but you're certainly a child of the 80s. One of the great action franchises of the 80s and 90s, into the 90s, was, of course, Lethal Weapon.
Oh, yeah.
Directed by Richard Donner, the director of Superman, of course, and the Goonies, and we could go on and on and on. But it was most notably known for being the big breakout movie for Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
It introduced America into the greatness that was, and it still is in so many ways. Forget about his personal life. Mel Gibson. And, we knew Mel Gibson from, I remember obviously
Mad
Max, Gallipoli, Year of Living Dangerously. He was a big star in Australia for a while. But Lethal Weapon. And it's a series where I personally loved the first one, absolutely adore the second one. Third one was a little bit of a drop for me. But the fourth one, I thought they did a really great job. And that was with Jet Li and Chris Rock. How about you, Rick? You're a fan of the franchise, of course.
Yeah, massive fan of the franchise. Loved it. It's still one of those movies where or the trilogy, or whatever you want to call it, you can just put on in the background and watch. You know what I mean? It's such a great, and I don't get bored of it. Like you said, the third one probably was
a little bit of a dip.
One out of them, but still, they're all enjoyable. They are great for what they are.
And we have a bit of a link to Lethal Weapon because if you go to our Pop Culture Spread store, we do have some Lethal Weapon inspired merchandise.
We do.
So I thought I'd just slip in a plug there. But the story is, Rick, the big story is coming out. And I'd heard this before, but Mel Gibson's been out doing publicity for some stuff. And he kind of mentioned that, that Mel Gibson confirms he will indeed direct Lethal Weapon 5. So clearly it's set in a nursing home, I would suggest at this point.
This is what I get. Well, originally it was Richard Donner was going to do it, but obviously he had passed away. So, Mel
Gibson goes on to say that, saying, I am directing that. I'm really looking forward to it. I wish I wasn't directing it. I wish Richard Donner was still here to do it, but left us ultimately, and he asked me, hey, kid, if I don't make it, you'll take the reins. And he kind of agreed to it.
But I don't know what direction they're going to go. I mean, look, they're what? Glover's probably in his 70s. Same with Gibson, getting close up there. They're up there. So what type of storyline are they going to go? Are we going to go see Joe Pesci back? Are we going to see some of those old classic actors or Chris Rock?
I think it'll be...
what I mean?
Maybe. Maybe. At this point, I would say, being that Richard Donner and Mel Gibson and Danny Glover had a big say in the script and have approved the script, I would suggest it's at least going to be something that's very much part of that franchise. So, I have the same concerns as you. I mean, we're talking, these are the guys that are well past their prime. So,
exactly.
But it is big news. And in a world that, in a world that, has reboots, sequels, years later. It's I don't really have an issue with it. I'd say good luck to them. I don't think you'll find this movie is a theatrical release. I think you'll find a home on streaming platform somewhere, which is probably appropriate for a film of this budget and this kind of content. But mate, Mel Gibson, it's good to look, like I said, forget about his personal politics. Mel Gibson is one of the greatest directors of our generation. And certainly I think he, everything he touches from a director's point of view is gold. So for me, you're having Mel Gibson direct the Lethal Weapon series. It's not Richard Donner, but it's a hell of a replacement. So, I'm definitely keen on it for sure.
Keen to see how it turns out. We'll go from there.
Now, Rick, this next story is an interesting one. And hopefully you can enlighten me on this because I know nothing about this character. And that is that we have a first female-led Spider-Man spin-off movie. And it's not who you're expecting. It's not a Spider-Woman movie. It's not Spider-Gwen. it's actually they have just cast the role of Madam Web, which is going to be Dakota Johnson in the title role. So she's playing Madam Web. Now,
wow.
Honestly, mate, I got to say to you, all I can do is read from here, but I've never read any or really known of her as a character too much. Apparently there've been two prominent Madam Webs in the comics. The first was Cassandra Webb, who was created by the great Denny O'Neil, and you would know him, and John Romita Jr., debuting in 1980s Spider-Man. 1980s, this is the Amazing Spider-Man, issue 210. So, and then obviously there was another iteration of Julie Carpenter, who was the second version of Madam Web. So that's all I kind of know. What do you know about this character, Rick?
Yeah, not a great deal. You know, she obviously she's been around, like you said, she's been around in the 80s in the Amazing Spider-Man. She has some, telekinetic powers, in that sort of range. But look, I just feel like it's great that we're doing a lot of these, spin-offs and introducing all these other characters because, like you said, Marvel has got such a massive range of a lineup. Introducing these new characters would be so good just to get this newer generation of people to get involved. I don't think she's like a major character a lot of people are going to get too excited about.
Well, she's somebody's favorite character. I can guarantee you that.
Favorite. For them to actually do a spin-off, obviously there's potential there for it. So,
well, Sony has obviously owning Spider-Man has access to anything slightly related to Spider-Man. So, look, it's an interesting choice. I would have thought we would have gotten a Spider-Woman movie or Spider-Gwen movie beforehand.
Eventually.
But look, there's obviously a script out there, Rick, or a concept on the table that Sony feels that it's worth doing. Now, I would suggest, if you look at that picture there compared to Dakota Johnson, obviously we're not having a younger character.
Yeah.
So maybe it's the second iteration they go to with Jennifer Carpenter. I don't know. But yeah, look, Sony is backing themselves in. They've, Venom made a bunch of money. Venom 2, I don't think made that much money. They've got obviously the forever delayed Morbius sitting there waiting to be released. And they've come off with a film that's now challenging Avatar in regards to the box office success in Spider-Man No Way Home.
It's not far off.
So they're not far off. They're not far off. So it's Sony are taking a swing and let them do it. And look, Dakota Johnson, I absolutely back in her talent. I think she has got really great comic timing, actually. I've seen her in a couple of things. I thought she was hilarious. She handles dramatic way. And, of course, Rick, you went straight to her being naked in a film with 50 Shades of Grey. Here I am talking about her performances and her talent, and you go, you see her boobs in that movie. No, but yeah, look, I'm interested to have a look. So for sure. All right, let's move on now. And one of the big things I'm so excited about this year in streaming, and I think there are a lot of people who are with me on this one, is the fact that Amazon is releasing the Lord of the Rings TV series, The Rings of Power, which we got was announced only a few weeks ago. The most expensive television series ever produced. And what's really great is it's got a lot of people that are involved in the Lord of the Rings movies involved in this series as well. And of course, it's set around the second age of middle age. So there's a lot of rich material to draw from. And, just a normal, they've started now the promotional train. And by releasing some images, some poster art, nothing spectacular, but we certainly get to see some of the sheer amount of 30 posters they released for this, Rick. 30 character posters. This is a tiny example of the sheer scale of this production, and the amount of characters and storytelling. So as you can see down here, it's certainly focused around, what did they say with the headline? I thought this was perfect. The Rings of Power character posters go heavy on hands, torsos, and rings. It's pretty well
exactly.
Pretty and then the idea of that is to show all the rings, because the rings of power. If you remember watching the prologue for the first movie, Fellowship of the Ring, they did that little bit of backstory, and how 9 rings for men and for the dwarves and all that. So I think these posters are pretty well centered.
They look pretty badass.
Look, that's a lot. Yeah,
a lot of billboards to be putting up. A lot of posters.
Yeah, I'm sure this is just for the digital space, but yeah. Look,
it looks good.
Look, honestly, it's just tiny little bits. But I'm telling you, Rick, and there are hundreds of millions. That fan base for the Lord of the Rings is probably, it's bigger than Harry Potter. It's bigger than Star Wars. It's bigger than Star Trek or any other MCU. When it comes to some of the most important and most loved franchises in modern history, Lord of the Rings is definitely up there. You got to remember these books had a feverish fandom back in the 60s. That's how long people have loved this series. So to see more and more of this content, I'm down. Go check it out. Go to your joeblow.com where we get a lot of our stories. Fantastic website. And you'll be able to scroll through and, slightly examine and get into the minutiae.
Obviously, people would know who each one of those characters are.
I don't at all.
Surely someone
I know. No, well, there will be people that would know. Absolutely, there will be lots of people that would know. I'm not one of them. I'll be honest with you. I've never really read the books. Like I said, I'm all about movies, and Peter Jackson's iteration of Lord of the Rings.
Great story.
Like I said, it's to me, it's as equal as Star Wars in my mind, and some of the greatest trilogy ever produced. So, bring it on. Go scroll. Spend a few hours going through all this stuff. It's definitely worth having a look at. Cannot wait. Bring on September, Rick. Now, from Lord of the Rings, I don't really have a segue to our next story, but I'm just going to put it out there. Pam and Tommy, Rick. Have you seen it yet?
Pam and Tommy. No, I just caught a glimpse of it when it popped up on Wednesday night. So I will definitely be. I did hear about this.
The funniest thing about this whole thing for us in Australia, because in America it's released on Hulu, but here in Australia we get access through Disney Plus.
It's on Disney Plus under Stars, so
which is hilarious. So you can watch, Mickey Mouse's Fun House, and then switch over to watch Pam and Tommy. So no, what I have seen, I've seen the first episode of this. It's wonderful, and I kind of like where they're going with it, because no matter what you say, and we've a lot of people have seen that tape, which the story is centered around. These guys were in love, and they were absolutely all in together. They were absolutely in love, and I think this show is more about it's more of a reflective show, in the sense that it's kind of talking about humanity as a whole and how insidious and our need for looking into personal lives and judgment calls. And so I find the show more of a mirror on how people want that salacious material and how we behave, rather than a comment on Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee. I mean, at the end of the day, it's pretty horrific to have to go through something like that,
Well, this
in that time when there was nothing like it before. No. That was the first time that a celebrity sex tape of that kind of scope and size was come out on a fairly new internet. The internet was about 5 years old, and so and it just exploded. It became one of the biggest selling pirated tapes. You could order it online off their website.
Yeah.
It became huge. But the show's really good. Like, you cannot question Sebastian Stan and Lily James. Oh, my God. The transformation these guys have gone through, and the way they're playing the characters is absolutely phenomenal. So you've definitely got to check out.
I've got to binge it out this weekend. Definitely check it out.
Yeah, and Joe Blow here, they've done a review. We're not going to go into their review.
Well, she even looks like
they've given it an 8 out of 10, which is usually a pretty good. So you can obviously watch it on Hulu in America, but here for us, Disney Plus.
Disney Plus on Star.
Which delighted me to no end when I saw it was on there.
I saw this.
I was on there going, it's time to watch Book of Boba Fett this week.
Yeah. And then it pops up.
Book of Boba Fett, and next thing Pam and Tommy. I'm like, something doesn't fit here. But yeah, there you go. Suppose kind of a mentioner. Probably should talk about. I haven't really got anything booked as a story, Rick. But Book of Boba Fett.
Amazing.
The Book of Boba Fett. The show where the height of the show means you don't actually have Boba Fett in the show. Because the last 2 weeks have been just out of the world. It really is Mandalorian season 2.5. And without going and breaking down the whole episode, as a fan, as a deep fan as I am, someone who's followed this franchise since he was 5 years old, I was so delighted in that series. Shout out to, I can't remember the guy's name, but he was on the internet. He did a redo. Remember the last episode of season 2 with Luke Skywalker?
Yeah, it was a lot of so many.
And there was this guy on the internet. It's just Shamul, I think his name is. And he did a deep fake over the top of it.
And it went viral.
Amazing.
It went viral.
Lucasfilm hired him. They hired him. And the result of seeing Luke again, spoilers, if you haven't watched it, too bad. I don't know where you're living under a rock. That it looked good. I mean, there was a couple of scenes that didn't look perfect, but still, Luke Skywalker, Ahsoka back in the series, and the introduction of anybody. And there's not a lot of people because there's only Star Wars is very divisive when it comes to the prequel series. A lot of hate for them over the last 20 years. But for me, I mean, I've always loved it. And certainly with my son, when the Clone Wars came out back in 2008, that was right in his wheelhouse. He was loving that show. And that's where I first got introduced to Cad Bane in that show. And what a character. So to see him show up at the kind of
live action
looked wonderful. Looked absolutely. And it's just a credit to Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau and Robert Rodriguez and everyone involved over there at Lucasfilm. They're just smashing it at the moment on streaming with Star Wars content. But I could talk 4 hours about that, and I don't want to. So we're going to move on.
Go watch it because it is an enjoyable show, mate.
Yeah, even for someone like you, Rick, who's not really a big Star Wars fan, you're enjoying it.
I'm enjoying, and that's like, and after the show, I'm like, I'm texting you, Jace, like, who's that guy? And then you do a bit of research on him, and he's such a beloved character, and he's just
he is because he's ruthless.
Yeah,
he's probably more dangerous than Boba Fett ever was. Yeah. He is probably, I would say, without question, the deadliest, most ruthless bounty hunter in the galaxy.
That's what he was. That's his aim, isn't it? That's his aim. That's what he wants to do.
Well, that's who he is. I mean, that's he's very pure as a bounty hunter too. He's not, swapping allegiances or anything like that. He's very pure. He just works for money for the contract. And there's so many amazing fan references in that episode. But that's for another time.
Yes.
Let's jump the fence now. So from Star Wars, let's go to Star Trek.
Star Trek, another one of your favorites, Jace.
Another great fantastic. If Star Wars is fantasy, is space fantasy, Star Trek for me is science fiction. It's a very different concept, and I absolutely love it. A lot of great stuff coming up out of Star Trek at the moment. I'm catching up on Discovery season 4, which has certainly been for me a better season than previous seasons. Star Trek Prodigy, anyone? Go watch that. Fantastic animated series that they've put out. But they are announcing more shows coming out, Rick. And the next show that they are developing, and it makes kind of logical sense to me, is Starfleet Academy. So, and obviously, I hope it's not done by the CW crowd. But essentially, there's a couple of ways they can do it. I mean, my fear is you go very much high school kind of thing. And I don't really want that high school kind of. But there is a lot of material to be mined at the Starfleet Academy series if they do it right. Even though they've got a picture of Chris Pine, a.k.a. Kirk in the Kelvin universe, I don't think it'll be around that period. I think it'll be around the more up-to-date time period that they're working through over at CBS for Star Trek. So, Starfleet Academy could be great. Could be a pile of crap.
Shit.
But again, you're getting so much Star Trek these days. It's good. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm only looking forward to one show, and that's Strange New Worlds, the Star Trek that's set just like about 8 to 9 years before the original Star Trek series, which looks amazing. But yeah, I welcome anything the Star Trek comes my way. Why not? Why not? So, Rick, now let's move on to the next thing. Is a couple of recommendations by me. All right, that's how we're gonna tie up the stories. And the first one only dropped yesterday, and I got straight on it because I love this concept for this show. It's an amazing show. And the first episode, mate, is so funny, so well done. It kind of reminds me of a show we used to do here by the guys that do Have You Been Paying Attention? Do you remember that show?
Yeah.
Where they would bring an actor on and they'd have to improv in the thing.
Improv on a different.
What was that called? What's my scene? Gee, what was the show? Yeah. What you're talking about. Anyway, what I'm talking about, guys, just get straight to it, Jace, is Murderville.
This is awesome.
And this is a great show there. And the concept of this show is Will Arnett plays a detective, very straight-laced detective, doing a murder investigation. And so what they do is they bring in actors and comedians to play in the opposite Will Arnett, but they don't know the script. And so they have to improv their role through the entire episode. And it's wonderful. Like the first one I saw was just fantastic, mate. And this is a big recommendation. If you've got a funny bone in your body anywhere, I think you love. And the cast of people who they've got, like Sharon Stone, for all people.
Crazy.
You saw Kamal Nanjiani. They've got Conan O'Brien.
Pull him out of retirement.
And it's just it's absolutely fantastic. It's a must watch. Netflix.
Will Arnett is awesome.
I mean, Will Arnett is brilliant.
You can't be.
And he's just so perfect for this type of role and show. So absolutely brilliant. The next show I want to really highly recommend, and I've just caught up. I've actually been watching a lot of content recently, Rick. So I'm in that zone at the moment where I'm watching a heap of stuff. Is Mayor of Kingstown.
Oh, yeah.
It's been officially renewed for season 2.
Renner.
Holy hell. I can see why this guy, Jeremy Renner, is getting a lot of love and awards interest around his role in this show. Fantastic concept. It's basically around Kingstown, which I think in a 7 or 10 mile radius, they have all these prisons. So he plays like a fixer who kind of keeps the prisoners happy, keeps the guards happy. So he will help smuggle in drugs. He will help sort out situations where one of the prisoners is going to get killed. He's very much it's about keeping the peace. And I mean, Jeremy Renner, mate, I'm telling you, in this role, in this show, he is so good. So I absolutely, if you haven't seen Mayor of Kingstown, jump on that show. It's on Paramount Plus. Paramount Plus, who are really beefing up their content now. So fantastic show. What I also have in a couple other shows that I'm catching up on, Dexter New Blood. Watching that halfway through that season. Thank God they did this season, because the last season of Dexter was pretty awful, as everyone kind of agrees. This limited series is so cool. So if you can't tell, guys, I recently subscribed to Paramount Plus with all the shows.
They sucked you in, Jace.
Mate. I'm happy for them to take my money at this point because, and you know what, Rick, that kind of brings up a good point. I mean, I'm very much now swapping in and out of streaming service depending on content. So I just didn't get Paramount Plus on top of everything else. I've decided all right, there are some shows I want to watch on Paramount Plus. What is the streaming service at the moment that I'm not watching? And I will just cut that service off for 1 or 2 months. So I've been doing that with Amazon at the moment. Because to me, the only 2 things on Amazon at the moment that I'm interested in watching will be The Boys Season 3 and Lord of the Rings. And until they kind of come out, no point to have it. There you go.
That's the beauty of it. You're not like a contract you can just change anytime you want. So it's great. And they're not that expensive. It's not that expensive a month to do it. So.
Well, unless you're doing bloody Netflix, which soon you're going to need a personal loan to take out and watch every month. They keep jacking their prices up. Now, the last thing we want to talk about this week is a follow-up from last week's story.
Last week's show.
Remember we were showing that picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger dressed as Zeus?
As Zeus, yes.
And we were like, what the hell is this? Is this a movie, whatever? No, it's not. It's a Super Bowl ad. Right, well, and at around
we knew something along around with Super Bowl, yeah. But, yeah, he's released it. He's released some footage.
So, Rick, you sent it to me the other day and go, oh, this is what it was about. So I thought, fair enough. Let's play it as we leave today. Let's play this actual ad and see what this whole Schwarzenegger Zeus thing was all about. Let's have a look.
Zeus. Zeus? Zeus.
It's Zeus.
Whoa. Kind of like the Greek god of lightning?
It's exactly like that.
Cool.
There you go.
There it was. I don't know if that was the full ad or not, but there you go. That's
it's an electric BMW coming out. So
good stuff.
You know, he would have committed. Like it was like a 30-second clip, but you know, Schwarzenegger just would have been committed to this role.
Well, yeah, you can see. I mean, he developed into be a very, maybe not the best dramatic actor in the world, Schwarzenegger, but he became very funny. Like his comic timing is on point, and you can see that. Just that look he gives the barista made me laugh.
So
it was
so good. Oh, I love
it. That's it, Rick. That's all we got for this week, mate. Obviously, guys, we love getting feedback on our channel, so we certainly want you to do that. Connect with us, and Rick, give your spiel. Tell them how to connect to us.
Guys, all you need to do is give us a comment down below for the video and also give us one of these a thumbs up. We'd really, really appreciate it. Hit that notification bell so you know exactly when our videos pop up. Hit that subscribe button and just follow us all on our social media sites. And also, guys, if you want to check out, jump on our merch site as well. And you can get some really cool merch as we discussed, our Lethal Weapon inspired merch and a whole lot more there. So get on it, guys. Really appreciate it.
Great. Well, that's it for this week, Rick. We will see you next week with a whole new set of news stories to talk about. And I look forward to meeting with you again and talking to the guys out there and see what's happening in the world of movies and TVs. Until then, Rick, we'll catch you later.
Have a good one.
See ya.